is living their own life and they have more than enough thoughts going on about their own days where they don't necessarily have the capacity to really care to the extent that you think they do about your life. That's not saying that no one cares about you, because that is not the case whatsoever. I care about my loved ones, but I'm not as invested in their life as I am mine. And if they're wanting to do something, I'm like, go for gold. So something that I have found is just giving yourself permission to go for it. And if people want to go on that journey with you and celebrate you, amazing. And if they don't, then that's their choice.
I'm Tiffany Gilliland, your host of the Business Bravery podcast. I'm an Australian business and mindset coach and marketing service provider with 13 years of experience in online marketing. I help coaches sign clients and grow their business with more confidence and less stress using my Business Bravery framework. It's all about simple steps that actually work so you can build a profitable business that lights you up and feels sustainable. Before we dive in, I want to invite you to join me for Brave Coffee Connections, my free monthly Zoom gathering for coaches and service-based business owners. It's not another networking pitch fest. Instead, you'll connect through powerful questions, small group conversations, and a short visualization to set you up for the month ahead. These deeper connections often lead to collaborations, referrals, and even new clients. Find out more about this free monthly Zoom gathering at tiffanygstudios.com/connections. That's tiffanygstudios.com/connections. I'd love to see you there. Today's guest is Tash Leem, a personal development author, podcaster, and digital creator whose work explores what it truly means to slow down and grow with intention. She's the author of From Human Doing to Human Being and When Life Gives You Lessons, two heartfelt books about embracing life's seasons and finding strength in self-awareness. Tash joins me to share her journey of balancing creativity, motherhood, and business, and how slowing down has helped her grow with more clarity and purpose. With that said, this is an amazing episode, and I can't wait to share with you Tash's stories of business bravery, past, present, and future. Now, who's ready for some business bravery inspiration? Let's dive in. Hello, everybody. I am super excited to talk all things bravery with my amazing guest this week, Tash Leem. Super excited to dive into everything that she has going on, and of particular note is the being human beings, not human doings. I've got it round the right way. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, you have.
Awesome. Just had a moment, I'm like, I'm gonna say this round the wrong way. So yeah, that's still my lesson that I'm learning. So I'm super excited to dive into that and your stories of bravery, past, present, and future. And yeah, Tash, tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do and who you help in your business and all of that good stuff.
Well, thank you for having me, Tiff. Really glad to be here and, have a chat to you. So, hi everyone, I'm Tash. I am a personal development author. I have written two books, From Human Doing to Human Being and When Life Gives You Lessons. And my way of helping people is through the written word and through my books. I'm currently doing a human design course at the moment, so that's another avenue that I'll have shortly. But for now, it's just mainly my books and digital products.
Awesome. That's so exciting. There's so much awesome stuff that I want to dive into about all of like the books and everything that you have going on. But first, in terms of bravery, I'd love to know, apart from recording this podcast, what brave things are you doing in your business at the moment, life or business, to things outside of your comfort zone to grow, that kind of stuff.
Well, back in January for my second book, I had a book launch and I was a little bit on the unsure side about whether I should do it because at the time I was also 37 weeks pregnant. And I thought, you know what, let's just go with it. If he decides to arrive early, then we will deal with that on the day. Thankfully, he didn't, which was very good. And it was such a beautiful event and felt like a really nice kind of last hurrah before I became a mom. So that was kind of my one that I started the year off with because that was, I think, the 12th of January from memory. And recently navigating hashtag new mum life and enrolling in the human design course, which is something I've been wanting to do for probably a year and a half. And working full time, I was like, oh, it's fine. I just don't have the time for it. And being on maternity leave for a little bit, I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this for myself because that way I can be learning and growing and also be taking care of my baby. So I'm someone that likes to, kind of have something to learn and continuously learn. So I figured this is the perfect time to do it. And if I'm not going to do it now, then when am I?
Oh, yeah, that's so powerful. What's some of like the biggest lessons that you've learned by starting to learn human design? And not talking necessarily about the stuff you're learning in the human design course, although that is really interesting, but also just like that whole juggling everything because like new mum and study and everything else you must be going on. Like, have you learnt any lessons from doing like juggling all of that or yeah.
Yeah. So I guess to add into that as well, I also had the idea for my third book. So I'm currently writing that as well. So kind of juggling a few different creative projects there. The biggest thing for me, which has always kind of been a test, is patience.
Mm.
And during this time, I have really learned, and I'm still learning, admittedly, to let go of the idea of having a schedule because at the moment I'm kind of just on baby time. And there are some days where he has really short naps. So it's like 2 hours of work to like for his wake window, and then he'll have a sleep for half an hour. And I'm just kind of on those days, I get a little bit frustrated because I'm like, I just want to do more of the course. And I've just come to realize I'm like, some days I'm going to be able to do more, and other days it'll be less. In terms of the course itself, it's such a beautiful reminder of how all of us are really unique. And the way that I see the world, I mean, we've got, like different mindset tools and things like that, in which, in conditioning and all of that fun stuff. But with human design, it's just a reminder that we are all built uniquely, and we can kind of find alignment in our own different ways. So it's really not a one size fits all approach. And I think sometimes I get caught up in, oh, people aren't thinking like me, this is so frustrating. And then with human design, it's allowed me to go, well, duh, they're not meant to think like me, we're all meant to think differently. So I think it's just helped shift that perspective a little bit, which has been really refreshing.
Wow. Okay. So much to that I want to ask and unpack there. But with the whole like not having a schedule, were you somebody who had like a very scheduled person beforehand? Okay.
Yep. Yep.
How
I like to be the organized one.
would you say like you found a balance somehow, like even though you maybe don't have control of exactly when you're doing things, you maybe have an idea of what like the plan is for the day or so is that how that works? Is that how you found a balance or
Yeah, so I think at the moment it's focusing on like where I want to invest my time, because at the moment it feels like such a precious commodity when I do have, some time to myself. And it's really made me think, okay, how do I want to spend that time? And it's made it so much easier to actually set boundaries and think about the things that I really want to do. So procrastination is definitely like my BFF prior to becoming a mom, and it's
all
definitely
right?
still there at times. Like I will definitely like still doom scroll and just go, I need a minute, and then that turns into like 20 minutes. But it's just, yeah, it's just really made me go, okay, I've got this like window of time, like let's just use it. So that's definitely been something that's been good. Yeah, not having a schedule is like a little bit soul crushing on days, I will admit, because I definitely like to know what I'm doing with the day. But it's nice to kind of just accept that it's just for a season, it's just for a little bit. And, the time for schedule is not right now. And that's okay.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I definitely empathize with that so much. Like from my perspective, so I care for an aging parent with special needs. And so sometimes like there's been times where oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was just getting my hubby to shut the door. Really sorry. Sorry. You were saying that you take care
Um,
of a kid with
yeah,
special needs, child with
not a
special
kid,
needs.
an aging
Sorry.
parent with special needs. So
Sorry.
similar, but but still kind of challenging. And so yeah, because of that, I like have had times where like, she's had hospital surgery, stuff like that. And it's like I go from other times where I was like I can do the schedule to all of a sudden it's like schedule is it has to be way more flexible and it's kind of like, oh that what like I know what's going to happen, but not necessarily exactly when. And it may not even necessarily exactly happen today. It might happen in the next day or two or something, which is definitely like a shift and a challenge. How do you navigate that or like for people who are navigating that same sort of struggle. And I'm guessing this is going to go into that human doing versus human being as well. Like what like perspective shifts or what advice do you have for those to help navigate those times? How do you keep, I don't know, keep your head on or something? I've made this a very long question. I apologize. But you
No,
get where
that's okay.
I'm
Yeah. No, well, thank you for sharing your perspective. And the first thing that came up when you were sharing what you're going through as well is in terms of self care. I feel like that is the first thing that falls away because you kind of subconsciously put yourself into a bit of like a martyr position because you go, I have to take care of this other person that exists outside of me. And you put their well being, and you mean it with full intentions and like, because you love them so much that you want to make sure that they're okay. But one of the biggest things that I've realized is I can't take care of the person that I need and want to unless I take care of myself first. So that might mean accepting that something that I did want to get done today may not get done because I've got to prioritize something else, whether that be sleep or having a nourishing meal, maybe getting outside for a walk. And as well, if you did have, during the times where it's not as, I guess, uncertain or chaotic, if you have a strong self-care routine, it's maybe picking one non-negotiable thing that you do each day rather than trying to do the whole package and feeling like you've let yourself down because you haven't done all of the things that you normally do, but it's looking at what the situation needs, what you need to give to it, and then what you can do to make sure you're okay going through that as well, because it can be like very physically, emotionally, and mentally taxing.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really amazing insight. What are some examples of like the self-care or like how you manage that or like when you see maybe the warning signs of like, oh, I need to do the self-care thing, and then how you choose between options or something like that.
So when I notice the warning signs, I tend to check in with myself. For me, the biggest indicator is feelings of frustration. And I look at that and go, oh, okay, I'm starting to get frustrated. What do I need right now? And I realize it's not getting frustrated at, let's say my baby or my dogs when they're constantly barking while I'm trying to get my baby to sleep. It's frustrating because I'm feeling overwhelmed. So I just kind of try and take a deep breath and go, okay, we're just going to get through this little bit and then I'm going to do something that makes me feel a bit better. One thing that I have started to do is get outside and take my baby and two dogs for a walk this week. And I have noticed such a tremendous shift in how I'm feeling and how I can deal with the day. Before that, I was just feeling like very overwhelmed and cooped up inside the house. So for me, walking is, and getting some sunshine really makes a difference. So I think it's knowing what your thing is that refills your cup. And sometimes you just need like a quick, I guess, self-care hit equivalent to a sugar hit where you just need that quick, that quick relief that just helps you get through that next bit until you can kind of refill your cup a little bit more as
Mm,
well.
yeah. Oof. And even as you say that, the minute you said go for a walk, I was like, oh yeah, I haven't done that in a few days. And it's because I was teaching a workshop yesterday, and so some of those things, like I kept up some of my self-care stuff, but in the whole, I don't know, the anticipation of doing something a bit outside of my comfort zone, even though I've taught a lot before, but it was like first time running something new, and it's like, oh yeah, I have not done the walk. So thank you for that reminder. I know self-care is more than just going for a walk, but actually, like as you said it, I was like, oh yeah, I
Yeah.
miss that feeling. Like I just it's like, oh, that's the thing. Okay, so I know what I'm doing after this recording, as long as it doesn't rain, we'll be right.
Oh, well,
Okay.
fingers crossed it doesn't. But
Mm,
that's the
yeah,
thing. I think it's just finding your thing. For me, like, going for a walk, it's movement, it's fresh air, and it's just like a change of scenery. So it's kind of
yeah,
that really delicious self-care thing that you can do for that instant serotonin feel good hit.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so then I guess there's a whole number of ways that I'd love to go with this conversation, but I don't know if what we've discussed has that covered human being versus human doing. Like, I'd still love to know a little bit more about that, or even you writing the book, like what inspired that? Yeah, what does that look like? Yeah, you tell me where you want to start on that side of things, because I need to learn this lesson so much more. So I need to know everything that you know.
All right. Well, I'll give you my elevator pitch for how I wrote the book and I guess just the concept behind it. So I wrote the book as a result of going on my own personal development journey. So when I was starting out about 7 years ago now, and honestly, it feels like so long ago now, but not at the same time, I noticed that a lot of the self-help books that I was reading were aimed at people that had already reached their levels of success. And sometimes as I was reading that, I was comparing myself, someone who was at the beginning of their journey, to someone that was a lot further along. And it felt impossible to kind of bridge that gap. And so I wrote the book as a way to have something with the beginner in mind, to go, okay, if you're starting to build your personal development toolkit, here are some things that you can experiment with and see what works for you. So in the book, I've included, examples from my personal life, but things such as meditation, boundaries, the power of saying no, trying new things, just a whole different, I guess, recipe is not the right word, just a whole sample of different things that you can try when you're starting out in personal development, and I guess exploring a little bit more about who you are and trying to gather those levels of self-awareness. And the title From Human Doing to Human Being came about because I feel like through personal development, having that level of self-awareness and acknowledging your strengths and your weaknesses and being mindful of how you interact with others really helps you go from just a human doing, someone who's on autopilot and just kind of breezing through your life without any questioning as to like why you're doing the things you're doing, to someone who's a human being, someone that's present, someone that is mindful and just more in touch with being, I guess, the main character of their life.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's really powerful. And I'm glad that you explained it that way too, that the human doing, because when I heard that, I like just the phrase human doing, I thought about my own experience. And for me, like I didn't feel like I was necessarily sleepwalking. Sorry, it's saying my internet connection is unstable. Am I coming through all right?
You're coming through okay now. I'm just kind of rolling with it, to be perfectly honest.
Sorry, if you want, we can pause and I could just do like a modem reset and like that should bring it back. Like
It seems to be okay now. I think when you call it out, it's like, no, I'll behave now.
of course
If
it
it does
was.
it again, like I'm happy for you to do a reset, but I just feel like I don't know about you, but I feel like we're in a rhythm. So I'm like,
Yeah,
if we don't have to interrupt it, then I'm okay
yeah,
with that. But definitely your call.
yeah. Okay. Okay, so what I was saying, like my perspective of the human doing when I just heard that phrase and I didn't know how you described it, for me, like I didn't feel like I was necessarily just sleepwalking because I'm building my own business. And so like there was a lot of reflection all the time around, am I doing the things I want to be doing, this, that, the other? But there was definitely for me just like if I'm like I have this thought of like if I'm not, or I used to, I don't have this as much anymore, but if I'm not earning the money I want to, then I must have to work harder, right? Keep doing. What else can I put in? And just was plugging in all of the to-do list for the business as much as possible, right? Into every free minute. So there wasn't like hobbies were non-existent. Self-care at one point wasn't existent. Like I didn't realize the value of that, if that makes sense. And yeah, like so
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
heard it, that's like I put my own experience on top of that and was like, oh yeah, I need to learn that. But I can definitely see that perspective for some other people of like maybe sleepwalking, although maybe I was sleepwalking in my own way too, as I think about that. So yeah.
But that's a beautiful thing. That's such an amazing take on it as well. And I think, being a human doing has a different definition according to what you're going through in your life as well, because that's the thing. Sometimes we go through, that hustle kind of culture or feeling like we have to do all the time. And it's just taking that step back to be like, you know what, I can just be for a minute and this feels really nice. And I can just appreciate where I've got to, whether it's in business or life, and just go, this is the point I wanted to reach. And I'm already rushing to the next thing without actually going, wow, I've made it here. This is amazing. Let's just admire what I've accomplished right now before moving on to the next thing too.
Quick break to tell you about Brave Coffee Connections, my free monthly Zoom for coaches and service-based business owners. In just 60 minutes, you'll reflect on brave questions, connect in small groups, and finish with a visualization to set you up for success. It's not networking as usual, no awkward pitches, just real conversations that often lead to collaborations, referrals, and clients. Grab your free spot now at tiffanygstudios.com/connections. That's TIFFANY for golf, studios.com/connections. I can't wait to see you there. Oh my God, that's such a great point. Actually, from my experience of what I went through, I found like so much of my life was just like I want to get to the next goal. And my brain had this whole thing of like, I won't be like, you won't be happy until you get to that goal. And then the minute
Mhm.
I get the goal, I'd have like 5 minutes of like, oh yeah, let's celebrate. And then it's like, we've got to get to the next goal. And it was actually just perpetual unhappiness for decades of my life. And then just, yeah, a number of years ago, actually kind of realizing that and going, actually, you know what? I need to be happy during the process and happy, like not just happy when I achieve the goal, but happy day to day. I'd imagine that probably works into the human being. How do we be human beings? That's such a crazy question to ask. What does human being like being a human being look like? What am I missing? What yeah. And look at me trying to do the being part again. So anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's hard to be a human being in a world that is constantly expecting you to be on all the time with technology at our fingertips. It's really hard to just switch off and be present. There's so many things constantly like, you know, fighting for our attention. And if we're not conscious of that, we can, you know, just kind of get caught up in just breezing through life, I guess, with not really, you know, being aware and mindful of where we're spending our time, our energy, our money, and all of the things. And there's such satisfaction in the process once you start to go, okay, how do I want to spend all of my resources? How do I want to invest them? And, you know, like you were saying, then you can be proud and present in the moment as you're on your way to achieving your goal as well. And I feel like that's a lot more satisfying than just getting to the end point and going, oh, wow, that was such a blur. I don't even remember how I got here. Okay, that's done. Just mark it off the to-do list. And then you're straight on to the next thing. It's like, what's the point?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So true. Like, yeah, the what is the point of it all if you're just, yeah, in the whole waiting for it to happen and all of that stuff. That's so true. Oh, oh, okay. So then, yeah, tell me a bit more about like being a human being. Like, what does that look like for you, or what's like the day in the life of somebody who's being a human being? How does that look and feel different? Is that, sorry, crazy questions.
No, I love it. More than happy to answer them. I think it's great. For me, a human being and me being a human being is being in alignment with my core values and practicing gratitude daily and trying to be present as much as possible. So, you know, whether that's at work, with my hubby, with my kid, with friends and family, or just like being as in just by myself. And, you know, sometimes it's checking in daily and having that level of self-awareness to be like, you know, how am I feeling each day? How much energy do I have? And where do I want to spend this? For me, that was something that really helped. You know, it kind of helped me figure out what capacity I had each day. You know, if I only have 50% energy, you know, I could still show up and give 100% of that, but I'm not going to be working at my usual kind of speed. I've got to like bring it down a little bit. And, you know, there are some days where I feel like you just wake up and you're in a bad mood for no particular reason. And I would go, okay, I'm just in a bad mood. I'm not sure what's causing this, but I will let the people that I'm interacting with know so they don't think that I'm getting frustrated at them or whatever the emotion may be. And it also doesn't make me go, oh, okay, now I'm going to get stuck in traffic because I'm in a bad mood. And you don't start snowballing with those different bad things that you think will happen during your day, it usually does when you've had one bad thing happen. And I guess, yeah, like with the being, it's when I'm setting new goals for myself, it's really working out, why am I doing this? Am I doing it for me, or am I doing it for someone else, or to try and impress someone else as well? So that was a big kind of lesson for me. A couple of years ago, I went into network marketing, and I was full of like, oh, I should do this, this, and this. And from the outside, it looked really good for the people that were at the top of their game, which, like, congratulations to them if that was their thing. For me, it wasn't. And so I just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And then I got to one day and I just thought, you know what, I haven't failed myself because I have tried at this, but it's clearly not for me. And I feel like I'm just banging my head against a brick wall, and it's not going to get me anywhere. So I think it's just having that level of self-awareness and mindfulness that really helps. But I'd encourage all of your listeners to reflect on what a human being and what that means to you, because my definition, I think, will definitely vary to what yours is.
Yeah, yeah. Although I think, like, from everything you've described, very similar experiences for me. Although I wouldn't have said I was being a human being, but definitely for you, you said you wake up maybe in a bad mood. For me, I manage chronic pain, and so sometimes I wake up in pain, and so yeah, and sort of pain or other chronic illnesses or something where it's like I can wake up with brain fog or just completely exhausted even after a full night's sleep. And then so it that whole, okay, I've got to downshift into, okay, yeah, my day's not going to be a full 8 hour day. And like when I was younger, like, I used to really beat myself up about that. I didn't realize about the mind body connection, and that actually you have days where you can't do as much, and you just shift down and shift up. And yeah, so that's kind of how that looks for me. But I think there's just a lot of similarity in that whole understanding your own energy, or in chronic pain circles, we call it like, I don't have the spoons, or, I don't have enough spoons today in order to get things done. It's like if you think about tasks taking a certain number of spoons, and it's like, I've got 8 spoons, but this task on a normal day would take me 1 spoon, like, of energy. And today it's going to take me 3 or 4 spoons of energy, and some of that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think there's definitely an overlap there in my experience, and there's plenty that people can extrapolate. But then, of course, like, I talk to people in the online world, and they're like, oh yeah, my perfect day, and I have 20 clients, and I work 12-hour days, and I'm just like, I can't do that anymore. So yeah.
No, it's so true. And I love what you shared about the spoon example too. And it's true. Like, there are some days where, you might have to push through, and, I guess that's for you to make that determination on the day. But if it's just about being mindful about where you're at as well, and just, taking it day by day, because, we would all love to wake up as, energetic people every single day, full of energy. But realistically, I don't think that's the case. And I think sometimes that's where, like, self-help books and things like that kind of lead people astray, or you kind of compare yourself to others and think, oh, to be successful or to be a high achiever, I have to do this thing every single day. And sometimes, it doesn't mean that you're lacking discipline if you don't do it. It's actually just respecting and honoring where you're at that day as well, and going, it's okay if I miss today, because I know that I'll pick it up tomorrow when I have more energy, when I've got capacity for it.
Yeah. Ooh. And yeah, I find that so valuable, that kind of thinking too, especially when you think about ideas of consistency with anything, like in health, business. I'd imagine like writing a book and that kind of thing too requires consistency. And I think it's very easy to think that consistency is, every day, 7 days a week or something. Whereas I think, yeah, there's these ebbs and flows, and yeah, being able to take a day off and, conserve energy and that kind of stuff too. So would you agree?
Definitely.
Okay. So sorry, we've talked a lot about your first book. Did you want to dive into your second book, or we could talk a bit more about like bravery and some of the stuff that you're doing or have done to get started, which direction would you like to go from here?
I'm happy to give a quick overview of my second book. And then if you've got questions from that, I'm happy for you to take the conversation where you feel it best should go. And I can just roll with that.
No worries. Awesome. So, yeah, tell us about your second book.
So, my second book, When Life Gives You Lessons, is a pun on When Life Gives You Lemons. So, for anyone that's made that connection, kudos. That is definitely the inspiration behind the title. And funnily enough, it was the last thing that kind of came together with that book. Whereas with my first book, the title came to me first. But it's just interesting how the creative process works differently. So, with the second book, I compiled 21 life lessons that I had learned throughout my 20s. And I thought, while we all have different life lessons that I think we're kind of meant to go through and grow through, hopefully, it's reassuring to have a book there to help you as you navigate those life lessons. In my experience, I have found if I haven't learned something, that it's just going to keep coming back around until I actually get the message. And most of the time, that's the one that you don't really want to learn. And you kind of have that level of like acceptance versus resistance with it, where you're like, I know I need to learn this, but I really don't want to. So, my advice is if you know that you're going through a life lesson, maybe just see what you can unpack and learn from that. And then hopefully you can move through and be done with it. But again, that's much easier said than done.
Definitely. Okay, so can you give us some examples of some of the life lessons that you learned? Or, yeah, I'd love to hear more about this. So,
Yeah, for sure. So I think the one that I wrote last was instead of what if, what now? And that kind of ties into going from being a human doing to a human being as well. So I might just touch on that one. So the concept behind that is instead of focusing on all of the what if outcomes or scenarios, is focusing on, say you've got a piece of information and you go, okay, I've accepted that this is what's happened. What now? Like, where do I go from here? Rather than kind of resisting what has already happened and thinking, oh, but if it was different, if this had happened instead, then I could do this. Because to me, it's kind of a waste of energy and time. And I don't mean to be so like blunt about that, but I've definitely been someone that's spent a lot of time on thinking about the what ifs and kind of resisting the change. And for me, the lesson that kind of really solidified this, and I'll just give a quick trigger warning, it does involve miscarriage. So last year, my hubby and I, we had a miscarriage at the start of the year, and it kind of took about a month to actually find out if we had or hadn't. And so being in that limbo was really uncomfortable and not knowing what was going to happen. And so I just kind of went, okay, I can think about all of the what if scenarios, like what if it's viable, what if it's not. And I just thought this is too like mind consuming. So I'm just going to go, okay, we will find out when we find out. And then whatever the outcome is, we're just going to figure it out. And so it did end in the miscarriage, but we were just like, okay, cool. What do we do now? And let's just move on from here. And I think that definitely helped with the grieving process with that. And, maybe it's not a miscarriage that people have gone through with that, but it's, maybe closing down a business that wasn't working, or, moving on from a relationship, or realizing a job isn't for you. Instead of thinking, oh, if these things had worked out, then, then the situation would be different. It's just kind of go with the flow rather than trying to like paddle upstream.
Oh, I really like that. Yeah, that really resonated with me because I spent just decades dealing with anxiety. And once I kind of learned cognitive behavioral therapy and stuff like that, like everything that, the thoughts, it was all like, oh, what if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? And I don't think along those lines now. And the whole leaning into bravery and everything has been a huge part of that. But yeah, it definitely that whole the what now, and like I can see the difference. Like just recently, a few days ago, I had to take mum to the emergency room, and there was a lot less And
Oh,
she's fine, everything's okay, we're all good. It was just a precaution. But yeah, like there was definitely a lot less of that what if, and it was just a okay, what's now, what, like what information do we have right now? Don't need to worry about all the what ifs because so much of those that I always worried about never even happened. Yeah, and just having that
yeah.
whole, yeah, I can just very powerful anyway, is what I meant. So mm,
And I think it's such a beautiful way to come back to the present moment as well, because I feel like the what ifs either take you to the past or the future. And it's something that you can't control either way because it's either already done or it's something like you said, there's so many different variables. And even if you try and, come up with all of the brainstorming what if scenarios, you're never going to capture every single one. Whereas, being a little bit more pragmatic and going, okay, what do we have here? Let's handle it. I think it's a lot better and it makes you feel like you've got a lot more control over the situation as
yeah,
well, which I think can really help, especially in those really nerve-wracking situations too.
definitely. And not just self-control, but self-trust. Like that's been my big thing of like trusting that whatever comes up, I can
Yeah.
handle it. I can feel that real shift between the what if to what now. Okay, so
Oh, that's beautiful. That's so amazing.
so tell me another lesson. This is fun.
So another one, and this is credit to my dad, was the notion of plans. So in my early 20s, again, this kind of ties into control. I love to have a plan, and look, I still do. I love a plan. I'm not going to lie, still something that I do use, but I use it more as a guide now. Whereas in my early 20s, I definitely didn't. I stuck to that bad boy like completely to a T. So I'll give you an example. I would go on trips by myself. So I went to Tasmania and I wanted to go and see a lavender farm. And so I was telling one of the tour guides about it, and they said, "Oh, it's not in season. So, like, I wouldn't go." And it was an hour and a half drive one way. And I thought, oh, what does this tour guide know? I'm going to drive out there anyway. And I was greeted with the vast brown kind of fields. So not the vibrant purple that I was expecting and saw in photos. And for me, I just went, that was such a waste of time. And I really should have listened to this person. But instead, I chose to stick to my plan and my itinerary. And I did not want to budge. And so my dad, we went on a father daughter trip to Singapore, and he kind of saw the way that I operated. And he didn't say, "Oh, you're, such an idiot for like traveling like this or anything like that." His approach was, "Let me show you how I travel." And we didn't have an itinerary to stick to. We didn't research all of these different places, but I had the most calming, relaxful, and eventful 4 days there. And I just thought, wow, like this is so much better. Like you can actually take your time and look at the things that you want to, and there's room for spontaneity. And, we saw things that we didn't think we would see. And it was just so much better. And from then on, I went, you know what? Plans are great as a starting point and as a guide, but being able to pivot and adapt, I think, is bravery within itself, and it opens you up to all of the opportunities rather than being closed off.
Yeah. Oh, that story you told about the travels though. So, like, I've been on the trip with the person who is more in that control side, and
With
yeah,
me.
yeah, I'm not sure exactly how much like you, but it was just very, very different modes of travel. So,
Yeah.
like, partly because she had less experience traveling, and like I've lived overseas. I've traveled quite a lot. So, yeah, my travel style is a lot more, oh, just get a place and show up, work out what I'll do when I'll get there, sleep in if I want, or something like that. It's the opposite to how I am in my business, which is quite structured. I don't enjoy the structure when I'm on holiday, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, but definitely that whole just the differences, and yet at the same time, there's a lot of benefit to somebody who has some of the structure because they make sure you don't miss certain things that I would miss. But I can see both, and like I don't mind the balance of both. But yeah, I can see that. Just different.
Yeah. That's beautiful. But I think that's the thing too, is like there's a time and place. And I think even with schedules, you know, I think it's also a bit of acceptance when things don't go to plan as well, because something might pop up during the day and, you know, you can't get to what you wanted to get done because something takes precedence over that. And it's just, again, rather than being frustrated that you haven't been able to do what you wanted to, it's just kind of going, okay, cool, we're just going to tackle this new thing, you know. So I think it just helps you be in a better mindset to be able to cope with things as they pop up as well.
Yeah. Oof. Definitely. I should also say, like, I have this picture behind me which I've actually named Control, and it's like the woman holding the pawns and everything by the rope. And that's something sort of like a testament to more of my anxious filled days where I tried to control a lot of stuff that wasn't really in my control, and that would cause me a lot of extra anxiety. So yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
I
such a
think
beautiful painting image. Sorry,
yeah.
insert the right word here.
Okay, so it looks like a painting and it is printed on canvas, but it's made of pictures. And
Okay.
so, like, the woman was taken down in Sydney. I live in a small town north of Sydney, out like in the middle of New South Wales. And so the trees are nearby my house. The chessboard was here in my house. Like, it's all, yes, from my imagination. But I can't draw
That's
or paint. I
amazing.
do stuff in Photoshop like a weird person, but that's what I.
Not weird at all. That's so amazing. But that, I feel like that makes it so much more powerful for you because it ties in all of those things that resonate so deeply with you as well. And so you can look at that and be like, okay, I need to reset. Like that's perfect.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Okay, so do we have time for more lessons from the book, or where do we go? Where can we go from here conversationally?
It's up to you. I mean, I can look at rattling off another
Mhm.
life lesson. I'll probably just have to go and get a copy of the book because I have got a mental
Okay,
blank.
okay.
It's just over on my shelf here.
Ooh, okay. Sorry, you don't have to do that, but yeah,
Just keeping it real.
love it.
Oh, okay. I've probably got a good one. Which one do I want? Okay, I've got an option for you.
Mm,
So I can either talk about like why it's okay to be a work in progress or do the thing anyway because people don't care as much as you think they do. So whichever one you think might be,
oh,
or I can talk about both. It just depends.
yeah, they're both good ones. So, like, in terms of bravery, I think the second option aligns a bit like more directly with bravery. The
Cool.
first one though is definitely one of my lifelong lessons I'm learning. So, yeah.
Cool.
So the second, yeah.
All right. I will do the second one and I'll see how we're going from there.
Yeah. Love it. Let's do
Cool.
it. Yeah.
So, a third lesson from the book is do the thing anyway because people don't care as much as you think they do. And this has been one of the lessons that has honestly taken me the longest to learn. And it probably wasn't until I hit 30 that I just all of a sudden realized I'm like, I don't care as much as what I did in my 20s. And it's just, I feel like I just woke up one day and I was like, you know what? I don't care as much now. Like, I still care what other people think, and I'm not going to go out of my way to be mean or, you know, act without integrity and the things that matter to me. But it's just about, you know, being brave enough to do the things that you want to in life without kind of projecting your fears and doubts onto other people. So, for instance, you know, you might have a dream or a goal to start your own business, and that inner voice of self doubt, you know, you've got your own feelings about it, like, oh, do I have enough experience? Like, you know, are people going to want to buy from me? Like, what do I have to offer the world? Those kind of thoughts and feelings. And then you'll also have the doubt that you put on yourself from others, like, oh, what will my friends and family think of me? You know, will they think I don't have what it takes, and that kind of thing. And something that I have come to realize is everyone is living their own life and they have more than enough thoughts going on about their own days where they don't necessarily have the capacity to really care to the extent that you think they do about your life. And that's not saying that no one cares about you, because that is not the case whatsoever. You know, your loved ones, you know, they care about you. And, you know, I care about my loved ones, but I'm not as invested in their life as I am mine. And if they're wanting to do something, I'm like, go for gold. So something that I have found is just giving yourself permission to go for it. And if people want to go on that journey with you and celebrate you, amazing. And if they don't, then that's their choice as well. But make doing the things that you want to do at the top of your list rather than, staying, say, in a job because you think someone wants you to be there. If you're not happy with something, then change it and do it for you, because you're having to live your life and wake up each day and do those things, whereas they're not. They just kind of see what your life is.
Yeah. Oh, that's so powerful on so many levels. And definitely as someone who like lived my life like for decades, kind of in my head, it felt like everyone around me had a little notepad called Tiff, and that they were like noticing everything I was doing or not doing. And then like my inner voice as well, it certainly was tracking everything and had something to say. And then like making this shift to realizing people aren't thinking about you half as much as you think they are. And
Yeah.
they don't they, they're not tracking things in that kind of depth that you might be in your head. And just, oh man, it was so freeing. Like it allowed me to do stuff like this, like get on camera, start a podcast, do all of this stuff. And yeah, the people I thought who would say something about it, they're the ones who actually gave me the most support. So yeah, it's just funny how that works. I mean, not that I didn't have some negative voices too, that happens, but yeah, it's just, yeah, that one's such a powerful thing. I was having a conversation with someone just earlier, a former client of mine, and she's talking about being brave enough to do a workshop, her first workshop, and like running it. But she was talking about the whole, it's like, I want to help people, but I really prefer to live under the radar. And it's that sort of feels very similar to this lesson. Like, what advice do you have for people who like maybe feel that conflict? Because I feel like I still have a little bit of that myself. So
Oh, absolutely. And I definitely do as well. So I am not claiming that I have cured myself or freed myself of, caring about what other people think of me. But I think it's just, there's a quote that I read a long time ago, and it's, if it's on your heart, oh, hang on, I'm going to butcher it. And I literally just had it in my head. Oh my gosh. Of course, the baby brain hits like literally as a, oh, okay, I've got it. Sorry. If it's still on your mind, it's worth taking the risk. And I think whether it's in your heart or your mind, if there's something that's nagging at you and it's that niggling feeling of like, you should do this, or like, you feel called to do something, I think you just need to kind of get out of your way a little bit and just do it. And once you do what you think you couldn't do, it's again freeing within yourself, and you just have proved that you are capable of doing it. And I totally resonate with the not wanting to be seen. Like, you want to help people, but you want to be discreet about it. And for me, like with the book launch, I wanted to do it to celebrate my book because I didn't do that with my first one. And it's something that I regretted a little bit because I don't feel like I gave myself the opportunity to really celebrate it. I was so shy with putting it out. I literally did a Facebook post and went, oh, hey, so I've just written a book. Here it is. If anyone wants to buy it, just let me know. And that was all I did. Whereas with my second one, I shared a lot more about the book writing process and everything like that. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do a book launch, and the people that want to come along will come along. And it ended up being a beautiful, intimate brunch event, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. So it's just knowing, like, if you really feel like you're meant to do that thing, just go for it.
yeah, oh, definitely. And as you tell that story, I was actually thinking about something I saw on your like Instagram feed, which was about that identity, like how long it took you to sort of say, I'm an author. And
Yeah.
like that part of what was going on with that whole, hey guys, so I've done this book and here's a post, and is that, yeah, I've
Yeah.
definitely been
Yeah.
there.
So that's, yeah. And that's the thing. I think, I shared that post last week, and it's literally taken me 4 years to actually own the fact that I am an author. And, whether that's for some of your listeners, if it's, owning the fact that you're a coach or a business owner, I think we feel kind of maybe a little bit icky, or, we kind of keep ourselves small in the sense that we don't want to own who we are. Or if we put out there that we're a coach or an author or whatever it may be, that we're going to open ourselves up for judgment. But instead, maybe we look at it like, oh, that way the people that want to find us then can, because then we're attracting in our clients or our readers or whoever it may be, rather than the judgment and the negative kind of sides of it.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, so like, I feel like everything you said, I'm like, oh, that's so powerful, because just like everything is resonating with me. I need to get a thesaurus and get some more words to say, but but
well, just do what I do and just have a mind blank. That's sometimes easier.
I have those all the time, and I don't get to say baby brain. I mean, I can maybe go perimenopause and be like, it's brain fog, but it's not. There's just some days where it's just like, you know what? Words.
Yeah, words aren't happening. Honestly, I had it before I was even pregnant, but now I feel like I just have a justification for it. I just trail off like mid-sentence and I'm like, yeah, that's gone. I don't know where.
Yeah. I've often been like that, actually. I think, did we talk about like you and I are both manifesting generators?
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
I don't think in this podcast, but I think beforehand we did. Yes.
Yeah. Bonus for people staying around to the end. But yeah, like it's just that whole like the brain moves faster than my mouth. And so yeah. Sometimes like I'll be in the middle of a sentence and then want to like make a left turn and change the whole sentence mid-sentence. And people are like, what? Yeah.
I did that. Speaking of that, I recently was a guest speaker at an event and I wrote my speech the day before, and I wrote it just having something there in case the nerves got the better of me. But I knew as I was writing it, I'm like, I'm not going to use this. And so I got up to speak, and hearing the other guest speakers speak first, I went, you know what, I can go a lot deeper and not be a surface level talker. And so I just kind of wung it. And I did disclaimer that at the start. I was like, you know what, I do have a speech, but I'm just going to speak and share whatever comes to mind. And maybe that's just being a manifesting generator. I don't want to say procrastinator because I don't think that's the case, but it's just having those ideas. And sometimes you're in that space and you go, oh, I want to say this instead, or I'm going to pivot and go this way with something as well. So I think it's honoring that as well, which is quite important, for the other manifesting generators out there, or just people that maybe operate similar to how Tiff and I do. I think, just kind of embrace that. And that's the way that you work too.
Gosh, that story, I forgot. I read that in your post as well, and I forgot about that. But that's living the dream. Like, to me, that's one of the bravery dreams that I have. For me, talking off the cuff, I mean, I'm starting to do it more on my podcast and just like have a couple of dot points and just be like, let's see where we go. But because of the way my brain works, I'm like, oh, what if I don't remember to come back to the point? And it's like sometimes we can start in a direction and I'm going left and suddenly I jump right and then left, and yeah, that's the dream. I want to do that one day. That's on my
I feel like you can. And I guess the best analogy that I can give for you with that is, really good comedians where they will start off with one of their stories and then they'll go like 5 layers deep and then they'll circle back around. I feel like you can kind of do that with off the cuff speeches, and you don't think you're going to get back to the point, but somehow your brain just knows I've got to close the loop, and then it just does it in a nice little bow. Sometimes it's a little bit of a messier bow and sometimes it's a really nice one, but I find that you can do that. I've surprised myself with it as well, to be perfectly honest.
I love that. And I think that comes back around to the self-trust, something that I'm always trying to build too, is I think it's like if you have confidence in the self-trust that you will close the loop, then you will. Yeah, love that. And sorry, quick follow-up question. When you said that you chose to go deeper, what does going deeper in an off-the-cuff speech look like? Is that more personal stories or more like, deeper emotions in the story, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I read the room. So it was a mindset event that I spoke at. So we had like the other speakers. One was a positive psychology coach, and the other lady was the host. So she was talking about like her mental health and her mindset kind of journey. And mine was very, I guess, artificial. I was just going to talk about my 2 books and how the writing process went, and kind of the inspiration behind the books. And after I heard their 2 speeches, I thought, you know what, I can do better than that. So I dove into some of the lessons from my second book and talked about kind of the person that I had become since starting my personal development journey. So yeah, a lot more, I guess, vulnerable sharing and trying to still share, but also give actionable tips to the attendees as well, to go, here's what I went through, here's what I learned, and here's how you can apply this in your life.
Oof. Okay, I love that. And I'm making notes of that just because I'm doing more solo podcasts on here as well. So yeah, definitely things to do. That vulnerability piece and sharing those kinds of stories are just, yeah, I mean, I enjoy doing it when I get into it, but it doesn't always come that easily to me just because again, it's like, oh, that spotlight, the being on the radar or off the radar or under it or wherever we need to be in relation to the radar. So yeah.
But I think it's sometimes challenging because for me, like I had I guess, the safety net of the room and knowing what the energy was like in there. So it felt like a safe space. Whereas with podcasts or even sharing on social media, you're creating, a podcast episode or a piece of content, and it's kind of going out into the void. So you don't have that bounce back to know how it's going to be reciprocated. So I think that can add another layer, which can make it feel really uncomfortable to get into that space, to be like, oh, hey, like I'm going to share this really vulnerable piece that I think is really powerful, but I don't know how it's going to land. So I completely understand where you're coming from, because I still struggle to kind of share on social media in that aspect. I'm like, I've got stories and tips that I can share, but I'm like, is it going to come across as like a Dear Diary kind of, post? And so I go, oh, I'm not going to share that. But it's finding that balance for sure.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Well, I mean, your posts definitely like they catch my eye, and I always like they resonate with me on so many levels. I mean, I don't always have time to write comments and things, but they definitely like the stories. I was like, oh yeah, I remember reading that, and yeah. So.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm trying to work more of the Dear Diary stuff into, or just the balance, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
and I think we forget that storytelling is so powerful too. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, that's all right. Honestly, I could easily talk to you for like a whole other hour, but I am conscious of time. So, yeah, I guess like I just appreciate everything that you have shared. I have so many more questions I'd love to ask you, but I appreciate everything that you have
Send me a
shared.
voice note.
And we will, of course, have links to you and your social media and all of your stuff and your books and everything in the show notes. But for people who are like me, who are like, screw the show notes, I'm going straight to Instagram and or Amazon or wherever, how can people connect with you, and how can they get a hold of your books if they're interested too?
So you can find me on Instagram and Facebook. So Instagram, I'm Tash_Leem, and on Facebook, Tash Leem Author. And in terms of finding my books, you can find them on Amazon, or you can order them directly through my website, which is tashleem.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tash. And are there any last words of inspiration, not to put you on the spot, but anything you'd like to say at the end that comes to mind that you feel called to say, or anything like that to finish up the episode?
I think the bravest thing that someone can do is just honoring themselves. So if you're doing that, then you're braver than what you think.
I love that. Thank you so much, Tash.
That's okay. Thank you, Tiff.
Thanks for listening today. If you're ready to grow through deeper connections, join me for Brave Coffee Connections. It's my free monthly Zoom call for coaches and service providers. No pitches, just real conversations that spark collaborations, referrals, and new clients. Plus, you'll leave with clarity, inspiration, and one brave action for the month ahead. Save your free spot at tiffanygstudios.com/connections. That's TIFFANYG for golf, STUDIOS.com/connections. I can't wait to see you there.